Listen, politics, you think it belongs to parliaments, elections, great powers. But no, politics begins the moment you say, I want. The instant you make a demand upon the world, a tiny politician is born within you. Adam once stood in the garden and believed he had the right to name everything. That was the beginning of power, because to name is to possess. The moment you call something mine, you begin politics. Politics is not only about elections, it is the silent race each morning when you ask, who will notice me today? OSHO says, power always arises from fear. A man seeks power because he fears losing ground, fears being forgotten, fears being alone in the crowd. Power is the armor of the frightened. He wears it and calls it personality. Look closely around you. In families, people compete for attention. In offices, they struggle for position. Online, power appears as likes, views, and shares. A single little like can make your heart rise or fall. This is the new politics, micropower, the politics of every click. A strange thing has happened. Power today rarely comes from stature or voice. It comes from algorithms. Someone may have millions of followers, yet when they walk into a cafe, no one knows them. It shows that virtual power can inflate the ego, but it cannot heal loneliness. Take a recent example. Across several European elections, 2021 to 2024, social media influence was immense, yet public trust in politics dropped. Why? Because power became commercial. It sold emotions, not truth. When politics promises too much and delivers too little, people grow angry. When it promises little but rides on digital fame, people grow suspicious. Politics became a theater of images, and Adam, once free, became chained to his reflection. So how can Adam escape the loop of power? OSHO suggests, first, recognize its root, fear. Ask yourself, why do I want power? To be recognized or to be responsible? If it is responsibility, that is maturity. If it is recognition, that is a wound of the ego. A small practice. Whenever you feel the urge to have control, sit and breathe. Ask, what am I afraid of if I don't have this? Even 3 minutes of honest breathing, and you will see fear arise, and when fear is seen, it loses its grip. Osho says, power is a tool. When the tool becomes the goal, you are imprisoned. Use power as a staff to help others cross the river, not as a throne to sit upon. If you are a leader, ask, does my strength awaken someone, ease someone's pain, or open a door for another? If the answer is yes, you are using power rightly. If the answer is, so they will see me, be careful. Today, many large companies are experimenting with new models of governance, shared power, community decisions. It is a sign that the world has begun to see the old power cannot last. But awareness does not arrive by itself. It must be practiced. A temporary conclusion. Politics begins where the ego begins. Look into your ego with courage. When you no longer try to control another's breath, you become free. And when enough people become free, the world softens. And remember, the Adam within you does not need a throne to know who he is. He only needs a heart that beats for others. Listen. Rebellion. You think it is a shout against someone. But no, true rebellion is the deep breath of a man who realizes he is imprisoned not by the walls outside, but by the chains within. Adam, the first who ever said I am, was also the first who discovered he could say no. And no is the doorway to freedom. But be careful. Many mistake rebellion for destruction. They leave one pattern only to fall into another. They reject belief, yet become devoted to movements. They denounce priests, but worship influencers. Osho says, rebellion has value only when it brings light to your being. A rebellion that merely shifts the ego from one side to another, that is just the same prison, repainted. Look at the modern example. Quiet quitting. Work-life balance. At first they were healthy acts of resistance, a way to reclaim one's soul from the machinery of ambition. But when the goal becomes to escape responsibility, and then to declare, I am awakened, it turns into a hollow rebellion, noise without awareness. True rebellion begins with one question. Why am I doing this? If the answer is to prove something, you are only trading one chain for another. If the answer is, because I can no longer live like this, and you are willing to bear the consequences, that is the courage of the real rebel. Something curious happens. When people rebel, they often want to change the world. But OSHO teaches you need only change one thing: yourself. If you change deeply, the world cannot remain the same. One awakened being radiates a power greater than any protest march. Consider this. Between 2018 and 2024, many social movements began with a single human who dared to live differently. Someone leaving a safe job to create a space where others could learn life skills. Someone building a free platform for education. They did not shout on the internet. They acted. Their rebellion had no slogans, but it had impact. So how to rebel rightly? First, extinguish the hidden motives. Ask yourself, am I rebelling to be noticed, to be praised? If the answer is yes, step back. True rebellion does not need witnesses. It only needs sincerity and courage. Practice. Choose one habit you keep only because society expects it. For example, constantly checking your phone while sitting beside someone you love. Decide to stop, just for a day. Then observe the emptiness, the restlessness, the itch to return. This is your meeting with the force that has been driving you all your life. Rebellion begins with such a small act. Conclusion. Rebellion is not about defeating the world. Rebellion is about defeating your own need to be recognized by the world. When many people win that inner battle, the world will not need to be fought. It will simply transform. Listen, science is the creative wind. When Adam first asked why, civilization began to grow. No one should condemn science, but OSHO warns, reason must never be the king. Reason needs the heart as its friend. The scientist within Adam is curious. He wants to explore, to measure, to understand. This is sacred, but when science exists only to control, to profit, to dominate, it loses its humanity. OSHO says science asks what, meditation asks who. Both are needed. Imagine a world where the scientist knows how to meditate, and the meditator knows how to use a microscope. That world is not far away. Already, science is turning its gaze toward consciousness. Look at the discoveries of recent years. Neuroscience has found that meditation reshapes the brain. Positive psychology shows how gratitude improves health and well-being. Modern medicine now uses digital and neural technology to heal mental and emotional disorders. This is not conflict, this is reunion. But danger still lingers. Science can become a weapon to manipulate emotions, to control choices. Look at artificial intelligence and the subtle power of psychological advertising. When technology understands you better than you understand yourself, who holds the power? If science lacks ethics, it becomes aggression in disguise. So what must the modern Adam do? He must learn both languages, the clarity of the mind and the compassion of the heart. When you conduct an experiment, ask yourself, whom does this serve? Does it make humanity kinder? If the answer is no, put it down and breathe. Practice. Each morning, give 20 minutes to balance both sides. 10 minutes to study, 10 minutes to meditate. Let knowledge sharpen your clarity and silence soften your being. Wisdom is not knowing. Wisdom is understanding deeply enough to act with kindness. Conclusion. The scientist can become a mystic, and the mystic can learn the methods of science. This union gives birth to a complete Adam, one who uses intelligence to serve life, not to dominate it. Business, many people call it worldly, even impure. But OSHO says, there is nothing wrong with money. The wrong begins when money becomes the goal. Adam was the first to discover value, and from that discovery the world of exchange was born. But when profit blinds the heart, Adam loses his way. The businessman is a risk-taker, a creator, a connector. He turns ideas into reality, builds bridges of trade, creates comfort and livelihood. There is nothing unspiritual in that. But when the only measure of success is the number in your account, you have already forgotten who you are. Business can be a meditation. Every act of trade, every negotiation can become sacred if done with awareness. Look at the rise of conscious enterprises today, companies that blend profit with purpose. Across the last decade, social startups have proven that money and morality can walk together. OSHO teaches, to become rich is natural, to impoverish your soul is the real sin. You can be wealthy and still radiant with love. You can be simple and yet profoundly wise. It is never about possession, it is about attitude. Why do you work? To serve or to prove? When business serves life, every transaction becomes an act of compassion. When it serves only ego, it becomes a form of slavery. Practice. If you are an entrepreneur, ask yourself before each decision, does this make someone's life better? If yes, that is sacred commerce. If not, pause. A smaller profit today may buy you peace for a lifetime. Example, from 2020 to 2024, many Asian startups turned towards sustainability, not as marketing, but as awakening. Founders began to see that the environment is not a cost, it is a shared breath. That is Adam learning responsibility. Conclusion, business is not corruption, it is a mirror. If Adam learns to use money as a tool, not as a throne, the world becomes both abundant and humane. For when wealth flows through awareness, it enriches everyone, and no one is lost. Listen. Inside every human being lives a warrior. A warrior is not violent. A warrior is courageous. He stands to protect the light within darkness, but he fights with understanding, not with hatred. Osho says, the true warrior fights his own narrow instincts, not other people. A warrior is one who dares to shine in darkness, who dares to feel pain without bitterness, who dares to remain honest even when the world tempts him to lie. In today's world, a warrior may be a brave social activist, a parent caring for their family in crisis, a doctor on the front line during a pandemic. They fight not for fame, but for responsibility. Example, in recent years of global conflict, some groups have used meditation and psychological support for soldiers and civilians. They are the modern warriors, using awareness to heal instead of harm. A warrior can also be someone who knows when to say no, to protect boundaries, and when to say yes, to step forward when needed. They have discipline, they train, and they know when to let go. Practice. When fear arises, do not escape. Take a deep breath, stand tall, and do what is right. Courage is not a grand gesture. It is a small action repeated daily. When you live each day with quiet bravery, you nourish the great warrior within. Conclusion. A warrior is not one who wins every battle. A warrior is one who does not let darkness conquer his heart. And when more people live as such warriors, the suffering of the world begins to fade. Listen. The old are often seen as the fading end, the slow retreat. But Osho laughs. Old age is the harvest. If you have planted rightly, you will reap richly. Old age is not decline, it is fulfillment, the ripeness of a life lived in truth. The aging Adam stands at the edge of life and looks back. He no longer needs to prove anything. Titles fall away. What remains is softness. He sees that everything, joy, sorrow, victory, loss, is only weather. Nothing stays. In the modern world, the elderly are often isolated. But new models, intergenerational communities, shared learning programs, show us something different. When the elderly are honored and included, the whole society becomes healthier. Osho says, what the old need is not a nursing home for the body, but a sanctuary for the soul. An elder can be a teacher, not through preaching, but through presence. If they can tell the story of their life without asking for praise, that is a treasure. Practice for all ages. Live as though you will one day grow old. Prepare your inner home. Learn to release. Learn to count each day with gratitude. Then when old age arrives, you will not regret chasing shadows of image or ambition. You will smile because you have lived deeply. Chapter conclusion. Adam does not die, he returns. He loses nothing. He realizes he never truly went anywhere. Old age is the time to see that completely. Series conclusion. Adam in the world. Adam wears many faces. The politician, the rebel, the scientist, the businessman, the warrior, the elder. Each is a role, a vehicle. OSHO's message is simple. Do not let the vehicle become the destination. The goal is not to abandon the role, but to live it with awareness. Then every small act, a conversation, a decision, a single breath becomes meditation. And remember, paradise is not somewhere else. It is here, in the way you look, in the way you breathe. Adam never truly left Eden. He only closed his eyes, opened them, and you are home.